Hello? Hello? You know, I only drink when it's a jazz-related activity I'm doing, so...
All right. Okay, so we're back on. Okay, welcome to the Tokyo Jazz Joints podcast. This is episode 102. And if you have listened to the last episode, you will know that you're also in... Well, I say for a treat. I mean, time will tell, but you're certainly, either way, when you finish listening to this, if you make it all the way to the end, you're going to know that what James's and my number 9 on our Tokyo Jazz Joints Top of the Pops Top 10 Countdown. Oh, yeah, got it. Nailed it. Although I feel like it was maybe the other way around.
Very concise.
I'll just do that again in case, and then I can cut it out. The Tokyo Jazz Joints Top of the Pops Top 10 Countdown. And number 9. So last week we started with number 10. Yours was Mingus in Hiroshima. Mine was Scarecrow in Ishigaki in Okinawa. And so, James, what about?
Oh, I thought you were gonna. Aren't you batting lead off today? We're gonna alternate, aren't we?
Well, all right. Then.
That would be a little better. Yeah. I got
my number 9 is. Do you want to take a guess? Just
I really don't, because I have.
How little you know me.
I absolutely, clearly, absolutely would not have guessed Scarecrow coming in the top 10 at all. So I'm thinking that, like I said in the last episode, I think we're kind of aligned on the feel, of what we're doing here. But I do not know. I mean, we've got a lot to pick from. And my long list was 67 places. So I think yours must have been at least that to try and get 10. So it's really, really tough to guess. So I'm waiting in bated breath here.
Well, I think with bated breath, but we'll come back to that. So my number 9 is on a lot. In fact, the number 9 is a very appropriate day because it's also from a day where we visited 9 places. And when I think about that day, and you can listen to that, there's a sort of a little subsection of the podcast. I think it's called 6 Days in June or something like that. But actually, for me, when I think back to that now, I think had we not gone for an onsen and you had not browsed the shop for horse oil products for your hair, I feel like we could have been to even more places. I mean,
which I still use, but I got to say, the horse oil shampoo, the Bayou shampoo rocks. I'm still using it to this day. Shout out to Oita.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Shows you how often you wash your hair. But because that was like 2018, that was before the pandemic. I mean, how little are you putting on each time? But like, it's kind of interesting because I think even though we did 9 places, like we visited 9 places that day, I sort of think to myself, how the hell did we also just have time to like go and have a nice bath in an onsen? It seems kind of insane now, but anyway.
It definitely had a lot more energy just 7-8 years ago. I could tell you that, because that kind of day seems pretty daunting right now. But yes.
That's fair. I'd still be up for it, I think. But anyway, so my number 9 is a place that was... again, one of those ones I think that there was an element of surprise in the sense that it was kind of an add-on. I think we had a list of places we were fairly confident we wanted to definitely visit, definitely get to. And I had sort of been digging into Kusunose's list, and I think or his map, and I think I had discovered a place called Naima, which obviously named after the famous John Coltrane song. And I thought, well, look, you can't be missing out a place called Naima. And so we took a kind of a detour through Oita, and I think for me it still stands out as probably like architecturally one of the most unique places. So we have talked about this in an episode way back, but just for context, if you have the Tokyo Jazz Joints book, there is a photograph in there of the exterior. And I just remember driving, Google Maps taking us around this very sort of suburban, very kind of plain Japanese kind of neighborhood. And then we spotted this sign, and there was a car park in front of it. And Naima is this kind of like... it's like a sort of it looks like almost like an old style kind of wooden lodge that you would see in the countryside, and it's kind of set down. It looks like it's almost sunken into the ground a little bit because it sits down behind the car park, and it has this kind of almost like pyramid. There's a sort of a pyramid, like a Mayan pyramid feel about the roof, and it has these Coltrane signs. And initially we were like, what the hell? And then when we got inside, it only got crazier. Like, so for me, number 9 would be Naima, and we can just recap what we remember about.
Oh, it's a great
inside as well. Right?
Yeah, it's a great choice. As soon as you said the 9-day, it came from the 9-day. I actually typed in Naima right away because I knew it had to be that one. Like there was no doubt that it wasn't going to be that. I mean, and it was on my long list. Didn't make my top 10, but it is on my long list. Naima is just incredible. Starting with what you mentioned, I mean, that kind of, it's funny. You said Mayan pyramid. I still remember putting in my notes because it's like this. It's kind of a little low in the ground, and the entry you have to go down the steps. So you're like, when you're walking towards it, you're almost like roof level. And then you walk down these steps to get in.
Yeah.
I remember thinking it looked like, or at least what I imagine an armory would look like, where people, you know what I mean, when they store weapons and equipment, on an army base or something. It looked different to any structure we've ever seen. And we've been to a lot of weird and wacky places that host jazz joints, but this one as a freestanding building was completely unique. And then right in front of it is that gorgeous sign of, Jazz and Coffee Naima with John Coltrane playing the saxophone. So, visually absolutely stunning. I mean, that was enough to make it memorable, but then walking in and then being greeted in what pretty great English, American sounding English, was another shock because, if you do, again, you mentioned the episode we did on this years ago, but just to remind people, Naima, the daughter of the owners, happened to be back in Japan, but she was based in New Jersey. Her and her husband and her kids live in New Jersey, and so she speaks really, really great English. And so she was completely shocked when we walked in, and we ended up having a long conversation with her, explaining what we were doing, and then she translated a lot for her mom. Her dad happened to be out. We didn't get to meet him. I think maybe he came right at the end where we were about to go, but it turned out to be this amazingly strange experience where we were talking about like our journey around the country, and then she telling me about living in New Jersey. I mean, it was the last conversation you would expect to have walking into a jazz kisa. It's like, oh yeah, I live in New Jersey outside of New York. You know what I mean? In perfect English.
Yeah, it was wild because I mean, I think her husband, I think they were both musicians. Her husband was a jazz drummer. So when you go into Naima, because of the shape of the building, you have this, I mean, it must be absolutely heaven as a kid because you have this kind of vaulted wooden, like it's all wooden ceiling inside. So you have this beautiful kind of vaulted wooden ceiling, but there's also like a kind of mezzanine level. So you can actually go up there and look down into Naima. And up there was a beautiful, like a big double bass up there. And then when you look down into the main space, as well as the kind of coffee area where the counter where you can sit, there's this kind of living room space with a couple of sofas, these huge Altecs. There's another kind of PA system set up, the now iconic Sonny Rollins as a samurai.
Yes, I was Philip. I was going to mention that. Yes, perfect. I was going to mention that. That is the first of many that we saw that, and I remember thinking like, oh my God, I would kill to buy this poster from them, not realizing that it's probably quite available around Kyushu based on how many we saw. But that's right. That was the first time we saw that amazing poster. Incredible.
Do you know what's interesting actually about that poster? I'm just looking at it now on the website, looking at the pictures of Naima, and I see it's 1994 Miyazaki. So I'm just wondering if you've listened to the episode where we talked about Lifetime in Miyazaki and about the owner trying to photograph taking Sonny Rollins to the beach where he's playing, and they kind of did a photo shoot with him, and there's this typhoon is coming in. I'm just wondering, would that have been around the same time potentially?
No, I think that story was earlier. That was the early 80s. And because the portrait I remember in Lifetime that he had of Sonny on the beach, the one that really epic one that was taken in rehearsal before they had to postpone it because of the weather. You can see he's quite a bit younger. So that would have been the early 80s, I think. Yeah. And that makes sense too, because the 80s was the peak of like the absolute peak of, we have all of this extra entertainment budget in our city, our city budgets all around the country. Let's bring in some jazz people and have them play a civic hall in Aomori or Miyazaki on the beach. You know what I mean? Like that was the peak of that. So
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the photos again, I mean, it's absolutely. I think if I was down in Kyushu, I'd go back again because it's just.
It still looks like they're doing live events too, man. Like they've got one here. Well, this is 2024, so it's not been updated, but they were doing an Albert Eiler tribute live. Imagine hearing that in that space. It would be unbelievable.
Yeah, because it's actually that when you look at it now, I mean, again, you've got this beautiful wooden roof, but actually the main structure is made from kind of concrete breeze blocks. So you've got this basically 4 walls of these concrete breeze blocks, and then there's this beautiful wooden ceiling.
Wow, look at you, Mr. Architecture. Jesus, what the hell is a
And this beautiful wooden roof has been kind of set on top of it. I mean, it's such a unique place. So, you know, because you look up, it looks so warm and so welcoming, and then you look at the wall, and it's these kind of like, it looks like a prison, and it's just an incredibly unique space. And I think apart from the very unusual shape, I think what made it so kind of significant, I think, for me is just that it was the first time I'd been back since I left Japan. I'd left in 2017. It was the year after that I came back, and we did a fairly extensive trip in Kyushu, but also, you know, it's just symbolic again of that kind of discovery, that just taking a chance sometimes on a name, and once or twice that's not worked out, but you know, just thinking, well, we're here. Why?
And that was the first time
we had the flexibility. And
was that the first time that both of us had been to Oita Prefecture? I think, right? Because I had never been there.
Definitely the first time I'd ever been. Definitely.
And so we got to, I mean, unbelievably, we experienced the famous Beppu Onsen and also the now famous, Naima Jazz and Coffee Kisa. I mean, what a day, man. What an incredible day.
Yeah, just an amazing place.
So for people, just a FYI for anybody, because we do know now, like so many people visit Japan and you know, who listen to us and like to go around. Like if you are interested in going to Naima or you're in Kyushu, just having a look at their website, it looks like the only social media that they're using about hours and events and whatnot is Facebook, which is not uncommon in Japan. I think a lot of jazz joints tend to use Facebook, especially because the owners are a bit older, and that seems the preferred sort of social media method. So look it up. It's in Japanese. It's Kisa Naima. You can look at their website too and see like the updated Facebook posts. I'm looking at one right now which is yesterday, February 21st. So they had a jam session. So they're still up and running and looks like they're thriving. And I'm ready to go back for a return visit. It's been, God, yeah, that's right. How many years now? Was it 7, 8 years?
It will be 8 in. Yeah, it was 2018. I can't remember the month, but I think it was like around. It was getting into the summer, so
wild.
Yeah, it's coming up for 8 years now, and we've had a global pandemic.
We don't talk about those things. Yeah,
and the Epstein files, obviously. Yeah. Right. So let's move on. What about you, number 9? Let's have it.
Okay, number 9. Well, we're gonna go all the way to the opposite part of the country then. We are going up north to lovely Sapporo City, and a place that I think for me, like, is maybe the warmest place, both in terms of greeting and just like vibe of anywhere that we've been. And it is this fantastic groovy kisaten in Sapporo City, a little bit outside of the center. And we went there together when we had, it's the same trip that we went to Naima. We flew up to Sapporo we flew up to Hakodate actually, and then moved to Sapporo, and we had a great morning A-set toast and coffee there. The first time we visited Groovy. And then when I went back again, I remember I went back, I guess it was now, a couple years ago, 3 years ago? Yeah, about 3 years ago on my 25th Japan anniversary. And I took a weekend up in Hokkaido. And I went back to Groovy to see him. And I explained, and I was like, no, you probably don't remember me. And then I showed him, like, the website, the photos. He totally remembered. And then he was like, wait a second, did you guys do the J-Jazz photos? And I was like, yeah, that's right. That's Philip's photos are on there. And he had one of the I think he had J-Jazz Volume 2, BBE J-Jazz. Shout out to Mike and Tony.
Best one. And
his name is Morimoto-san, the owner. Philip, seriously, we've had a lot of great appreciation from owners, who've appreciated us promoting their place or just even coming by to visit, especially after the book. But Morimoto-san, I swear he was absolutely elated. He was over the moon that Groovy had been sort of like, featured on the cover of the album. That this was going overseas. Like it was almost hard for him to understand.
And it's in the Tokyo Jazz Jones book as well, right? So.
Yes. And so he was just like, he was completely appreciative. And then, we sat down, we had a great talk. Groovy is the kind of place again, and this is going to be a common theme I think through all of my top 10, probably both of ours. Inconceivable that this could exist anywhere else. I mean, it's the size of a by no means large kitchen area in an American house, okay? And it is just packed with records and CDs. I mean, the back wall are all record racks, like the kind that you would see in a shop, and then behind the counter he's got like 3 floor-to-ceiling racks of CDs and tons of flyers and jazz magazines and things like all over the place, with the windows facing the street. So it's a very, very cramped, small space, but the windows give it a lot of natural light. And Morimoto-san just being so warm and welcoming, you immediately just feel like, oh, okay, I could easily see if I was living in Sapporo, I'd be here for coffee, 3-4 times a week, easily. Make it my morning ritual, And the other thing that just, again, getting back to this kind of idea of like, counting down special experiences and moments was, and you definitely remember this, Philip, we started telling him about what we were doing, and it was still pretty early days, remember, for us in the project. It was like the second year or whatever, first time out of Tokyo, and he was just like, oh, when I used to work in my salaryman job, I went all around, and he pulled out a book of meishi, of jazz kisa meishi, business cards and matchbooks. And we realized that this guy was exactly like us. Like his passion was going around the whole country to visit these joints. And that was when it really, now it's, we've seen it again and again, and it's become a big thing on social media too, the matchbooks and the business, the flyers or whatever. But back then, to me, that was really, really special. I'd never seen anybody have a collection like that before. And the sort of like enthusiasm and amazement that he had, I felt that deep connection. It was just sort of like, oh, okay, we're not the only like crazy dorky people that do this. Like there's actually a lot of guys and women too who go around to these jazz kisas and collect the stuff and like keep mementos and think about places they've been that have closed and like think about what their favorites were and who they liked and who they didn't like. And it was just, I just felt like, this guy felt like a distant uncle or something immediately. So Groovy it's always been a place that's been really special. And so I was really happy when I could make it back there on that last trip I had. And recently I've seen, again, we've talked about the influx of tourists and especially jazz fans. I've seen some people make the effort, because most people who go to Sapporo, obviously they're going to go to Jamaica. Jamaica is now world famous, and Jamaica is astounding. It's incredible. You should go there. But Groovy is like, it's a little bit more of a like, okay, now that you've done Jamaica and Bossa, go out to Rondo or Groovy or one of these outskirts of Sapporo places. And then you're going to find out like, oh yeah, Japan's incredible. It's not just downtown, and it's not just a famous place. These little places are everywhere, and you get to meet this magical guy who shares your insane passion for jazz kisa. So Groovy, I knew when we were starting it was going to be in the top 10 without a doubt.
Yeah, interesting. I didn't expect that at all. It's funny. I'm just looking at the photo now, the one that is in the book, and like for me, it's very much my style of photograph. Like I really, it's so unassuming and quite plain, but that's sort of why I chose it. I just love how sort of simple and plain the building is, but also, if I remember correctly, we were leaving that day, and it was one of those question marks. It was like, well, this is sort of slightly out of the way. It's like, it's a bit of a faff to go to for breakfast, to get back in to take our onward journey, because I think we're flying down to Kyushu, but we did do it. And like you say, very glad we did. I remember the matchbook thing slightly differently. I'm pretty sure he said that he went as a student. I think he did it as a student, because I remember he had them all very meticulously labeled in terms of when he visited the places, and also the price of the coffee that he paid, but they were all within a certain time. So it was sort of around, I think it was like 73, 74.
No, that's so right. That is right. But he definitely did. He definitely continued that afterwards, because and maybe he told me that on my second trip. Now I'd have to go back and check the notes. But he mentioned about how, and we've heard this from a lot of people, right? It's like whenever your company sent you on some boring ass business trip to wherever, your only real priority is like, okay, how can I fit in like a live gig or a jazz gig on the trip, right? So he definitely had mentioned that to me. But yes, you are right. For sure, he started as a student. And that's right. I remember that because in Japan, I forget what it's called. You know, when you get that, you can get that sort of like Norihodai, like pass as a student. So you can't take the Shinkansen, but you can basically ride like a local or like semi-express train all around the country for like a set price. So if you're willing, so say you wanted to go from my joint in Yokohama down to Kyushu without taking the Shinkansen, it might take you 18 hours, but you can do it for like 5,000 yen. So it's how students get around cheaply. And like he was doing that back then. Yes. Great recall there. Completely forgot that.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great little spot, lovely little breakfast. Like you say, unlike so many of the places on that trip, brightly lit. Windows were open, hair was relatively fresh. And what I also noticed is, well, I mean, just where it is, if you look, there's a photograph on the website of the sign outside, and, you know, it's a fairly plain and, dare I say, you know, a little rundown neighborhood that it's in, just even judging by like the curbstones and the kind of state of the road and stuff like that. But what an absolute gem. Also, I'd never really noticed before, but in the wall that you described, where there's a couple of framed posters up in front of some of the records, I noticed he's got like just a stack of 3 speakers, like 3 separate speakers stacked on top of each other on either side of the records too, which I'd never really kind of registered before. But yeah, it's funny, I didn't see that coming, but I think again, it's interesting how we choose them differently, but also what resonates with each of us. And Groovy, as much as I enjoyed it, it didn't really occur to me. But now you sort of, it's funny because you can be so easily swayed, because then when you talk about it, you're like, should that have been?
Yeah,
like it's impossible. It's an impossible choice.
No,
right?
totally. Because I feel that way about Naima, and it's sort of like, because I went through my whole stupid spiel in the previous episode, and it's like, wow, this isn't just looking at the most like amazing buildings or structures or interior. And then I was thinking like, holy crap, man, Naima is unbelievable. Like, what? How could this be a jazz? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
this building be a jazz joint.
The weirdest. Yeah,
for sure. So it's, I mean, there's just, you know, again, there's so many parameters and so many ways you can pick from. But like, also, I'm very, very interested at your extremely high standards of what a rundown neighborhood would be, because it's the Maruyama Koen station in Sapporo. Kind of well known as like a pretty part of town. So I don't know where you live in Belfast.
Well, maybe it's the angle I've taken it from, but
it's the hoity-toity here. Wow.
Well, I don't know. Let people decide for themselves. I mean, if you look at it, it's no Aoyama. Let's just say that.
Well, I think one thing though is like with Japan, and we've talked about this before. Japan does not have anything resembling zoning laws like you have in a lot of the Western countries. So even in the midst of like an extremely expensive neighborhood, you'll find the most run down, rancid looking izakayas or like old shops that just like coexist next to like luxury shops and skyscrapers, you know? It's kind of all piled on top of each other. So that particular stretch in the building that Groovy in is clearly really very old. Yes, for sure. But it is interesting because, that's known to be like a kind of a nice neighborhood in Sapporo. But I'll make sure I contact the Sapporo Tourist Board and let them know what your thoughts were on it.
Well, it makes a change for me to be slagging off rather than you. So.
Yeah, shout out to Finland.
Sort of balance the yes. Thanks to all our Finnish listeners for sticking with us, but you are known for your endurance, so fair play. Okay, well that was number 9 in the Tokyo Jazz Joints top of the tops. Nope. Tokyo Jazz Joints top of the pops top 10 countdown.
You'll get there by the time we finish this series, I'm sure.
Yeah, quite possibly. Next episode will be 103, and we'll be sharing our number 8 pick. So in the meantime, James, take it easy, and I'll talk to you in the next episode.
You bet, buddy. Can't wait. Take it easy, man.